for something called bidirectional penetration. So let's define what that is and then go from there. And again, we spoke in another episode that penetrating another person's body, touching another person's body first happens with our mind, with our eyes, with the sense of smell, with what we're hearing, what we're like, all of these
with our
things.
Body movement.
Yes.
Our
So
breath
all of that. But anyways, what is bidirectional penetration?
So the question how to enter or penetrate already is assuming that in general the receiver is passive, and meaning that not moving, and the person who's on the giving side is the one doing everything. Okay. Meaning like actually pushing or entering into the body. True. Now, to understand though that this concept, how to change that, is that actually in the same way then that the mouth isn't being pushed into, having food pushed down it, it's not being penetrated by a fork. Instead, you bring something into your mouth and you swallow, that the person on the receiving end, and specifically with the vagina, can be breathing and using the pelvic floor in a very specific way to actually open like a mouth and then relax and swallow in whatever it is that is coming in this case, then a penis. Yes. So understanding that is one part of meaning that it's bidirectional, meaning that the person being entered is actually, we'll refer to it as swallowing, let's say, or it could be, I think sometimes you talk about it as sipping.
Yes.
And so that's one really important concept. I will talk about it as sucking a lot of times, but in general, though, it's the same engagement of the pelvic
especially
floor,
the lower ring of the vagina, right?
Yes, exactly. And but the other part, though, that doesn't always get mentioned on being bidirectional means that the person that is actually being brought into the body, as opposed to them pushing, let's say if you get brought into the depths of the other person, well, if you want to create motion, and especially if that sucking feeling is happening, there's a kind of suction seal that's formed to create sensation, isn't to push further forward, but instead actually learn to work your hips backwards.
Right.
Because now you're creating this suction increasing this sensation that sensation doesn't come from just pushing in, but actually like reversing and going backwards, and the sensation becomes one of suction more than just trying to speed up by friction. We'll also go into a little bit more details on that technique as well.
Yeah.
But so these things now, once you get this conceptual understanding that penetration doesn't only happen that way, you can start to go, okay, so entering. Well, that means then as a giver that one, I'm going to allow the person to actually bring me in to their body. And then the person who's being entered or actually doing the sucking, they're going to be actively feeling into their body what feels right, how it feels right, at what speed, what angle, etc., and then guide the other person in. So
I still think that's stuff happening after some preliminaries, so I want to cover the preliminaries.
Well, this would be specifically the bringing someone into your body, but yes, I think that when we go into this next portion, we can break it down from
I think in this one we can at least mention some of it. They may not get the full description, but
okay.
So a couple of things. If you are wanting to be penetrated, you want to have that experience, you have a vagina, you want to have this experience, I think it's better to practice on your own first. I always say this as well for anal, or even for doing oral and taking something into your throat, that you first do it on your own, at your own pace, with possibly just a finger because it's small, just to get a sense and feel of your own body, what's happening and what are the limitations. So long before I ever had penetrative sex, I was definitely having it with myself. By the time I had my first sexual experience, there was no pain, there was only pleasure, I wasn't afraid, and the guy wasn't small. At first I remember looking and going, I don't think that's gonna fit, because I was used to just like a tampon or a finger. And it did fit, which was much to my surprise. But what prepared me and what made it a really pleasurable experience for him was that I had previously been with myself. And so that ability to have that confidence in my body, to trust that my body knew what she was doing, I think is really crucial as the active receiver.
So then the first step on how to enter the vagina, if possible, is actually to have the person that has the vagina be actively practicing penetration, probably with their finger first, and then if they want, then graduating to what it would be like with a dildo. So that way then they would have the confidence to actually physically bring you into their body.
Exactly.
By actually holding your penis.
So when I teach things like with the jade egg, I don't care the age, I don't care if you're a virgin, if you have had sex with 1 million people, I don't care. I always teach the exact same thing. And the first thing is, as you taught in the earlier episodes, of breathing into the vulva and relaxing and having that consent of the body. Yes, because you can feel the body at some point wants the touch.
Exactly.
Asking permission. I always ask permission twice. I ask permission before I touch and massage.
And this isn't the giver asking the receiver. This is if you're doing it to yourself. Even you ask yourself.
Yeah, I think it's really important that the receiver have some training before to really have a receiver that's terrified of sex, has never heard about it, doesn't know their body at all, is going to make for a more difficult experience.
So we'll go into the details of that in the later part.
Yeah. Okay. So then with the sipping part, there's the permission first to just touch and massage around the vulva, and then when it's time to actually possibly go and touch more, even just the opening of the vagina, another layer of permission is asked. And then I always stress, don't move, just wait. And because the calibration of the body needs a moment, the nervous system needs a moment. And if you can approach the vaginal opening with gentleness, it's going to bloom. If you try and go in with too much passion, it will often like contract and close in, and then you have all the different vulvar type of discomforts, pain, too much heat or burning or even sharp sensations.
Well, let me just back up then before we get into the part of making that first comment and pausing, is that as opposed to really trying to stimulate the vagina with the hand, holding it there on the outside, having this cupping, and then actually having your body move more in towards your hand as if you're grinding into your hand, whether you're laying on your stomach or sitting on the edge of a chair, but getting that rocking motion and getting yourself doing this pelvic floor breathing, even if your hand's not there yet, is going to get everything to that place where then there is the desire to have the contact. It's very important for the body, I've noticed, especially this area of the body, the vulva, to get excited, is that it's, again, choosing. So once you've asked permission, check in with your body. Does your body actually want to be rubbing against this hand? So that way it's not something just from the mental space, but as we're talking about, again, the embodiment of consent. And then from there, as that body starts to move, as the body's really starting to want it, then that's where, let's say you were to bring your own finger, your partner's penis, your partner's finger, whatever, towards the entrance. And then yes, all of a sudden now pausing. Are you looking for one place that you can go to source all of your answers to the questions that you may have around relationships, intimacy, and passion?
Then look no further. Join our free membership where we have 20-minute podcasts just rich with information, free mini courses, and so much more. Join us at embodiedlove.love.